Hey guys, I know it's been a while since our last episode, but we're back. Got a bigger team, new space, and a new format for our episodes. Welcome to season 2 of your Cruise Control podcast, where every month I'm going to sit down with our current partner and discuss a singular topic that's relevant and impactful to your business. So thanks again for listening. We know this has been a big help to a lot of people. We hope you'll love our new season and format. We're excited to tackle some of the biggest challenges in the industry with you and with some of our favorite people. Now enjoy the first episode with Kurt Felmar from Detail Solutions, where we discuss how you can take an upcoming slow season and explore new revenue opportunities or streams and reinvest in your business. Enjoy. Great. Well, I've got Kurt here from Detail Solutions over in Baltimore, one of my favorite partners, 7-figure business. His business has been exploding in the best way possible. And he's got some leadership and employee things he wanted to talk about. I figured, hey, come on, hop on this podcast real quick and let's kind of talk about it. I mean, if Kurt's got some great ideas, I'm sure I've got some stuff that's not great, but I can still finger it in and then get in there and kind of throw some ideas around. So what's on your mind? What you thinking about? You're kind of getting in the stage where you're starting to get department heads, right? And taking over entire tactics at this stage. And I'm not just talking just tint or services. You're talking about entire departments are starting to grow, if I'm correct.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah, we've got basically an operations manager who runs the entire facility. We've got a sales and customer service manager, and then we get into some of the more tactical technician type leads, shop managers, so on and so forth. And then, with the other entities, we're talking, car storage and general cleaning and detailing. Same thing there. We've got a concierge and management in those places as well. So it's been really unique to go through and start to restructure org charts and start to put the right butts in the right seats.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Are you trying to struggle of like you're into kind of like pay scenarios, or is it more of like roles and responsibilities? I feel like I've got some pretty good stuff. Now we both come from corporate, so Kurt probably actually has just as much, if not more, experience than I do. But I've been pretty good at building up teams of 80 to 100 that I've built from 2. And I might have some help stuff on there. What kind of things do you feel like you're popping up in your mind that are like, dang it, what's the path of least resistance here?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's just going to be the right responsibilities and the right roles, especially as we start to talk about multiple facilities being under one corporate, if you will. Who oversees what, does what, what's their title, and what powers do they have? But then when it comes over to one of the other branches, same thing. Where is that vertical drawn, and where does the other begin? But we're a small business still. It doesn't matter. Less than a few hundred employees. We all wear multiple hats. There's always going to be that crossover, and it's finding what is it okay for Chris to do that I have to do too. But then who has the priority on it, and who's the main point on it? It's identifying those.
Awesome.
And Yep. I mean, pay is always one of those things, right? It's always going to be one of those. Should I pay this person $100,000? Should I pay this person $50,000? And I always like to say we're going to pay based on the value this person brings to the business. And right now, especially for the other entity, it's called Park and Social, the car storage, social club, and everything. We're still kind of in the dark on what some of these roles are going to be. So as we start to whiteboard them and say, it's hard to understand exactly what value each one of those seats brings. But then it comes down to budgeting, and that's a very complex thing for a lot of guys in our industry.
Yeah. I've got, ironically, we get into something similar every time where like we think we know what the role is, and we find 60 to 120 days later, maybe it's got 30% of that. What we'll probably show on the screen at one point, we set up a great sheet, which I'd love to pass to you and anyone who listens to this. It's called the CEO expectation sheet. It's actually not my expectation of them. It's what they are the CEO of at this company. This sheet probably has changed how I've done business for 20 years.
I like it.
The moment we started using this sheet, and what will scroll on the screen essentially is you have basically a small brief of what you think this role is going to be. And you literally write down, this is the top wins in our book. This is what we would consider failures in this role, right? And if it's sales numbers or anything of that nature. But what I really like about this sheet is we give them ownership and responsibility. So like a perfect example is like Spencer, who's working with us, who came actually on as a writer. She's like, hey, I'm just a little bored. I need a little bit of extra. We're going to revise this expectation sheet already 30, 60 days in. And she's taking on all a certain specific client relationships that she showed interest in. And she came to me and she's like, hey, can I do this? And I'm like, I wouldn't ask the CEO of a different department if I can do this. You're the CEO, Spencer. Do you think you should do this? She's like, hell yeah. I'm like, hell yeah, let's let's do it. It's like a responsibility ownership thing. And like, she's like, hey, I can give you the guardrails if that helps you, Spencer. Like, can I spend this much? Can I put this much? Like, I can help you define it. But she will own all of that kind of that role responsibility. The buck stops with her, kind of more or less. And every single employee here has that, the CEO sheet. And so when we're talking to them and they're making decisions, so like Nick at our department is making some marketing and design decisions. He's like, I don't know. I kind of want to go find someone to make this one render. I'm like, you're the CEO. You make the decision. Because in a year, when I ask you how come we're not moving some stuff along, I'm going to ask who's the CEO of this portion.
Yeah.
I find that gives them super tangible stuff to own. They really keep it as something as part of their responsibility. And we even internally know who has it now. And it kind of stopped it from me being the only guy, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And first off, I love that. I want to see this so I can poke around on it and go with it. But are you familiar with a RACI, right? Coming from corporate, you mentioned that earlier. Are you familiar with a RACI model?
Yep.
I think that's, very similar. And having people
Why don't you
understand.
explain that for what people, I don't think most people know what RACI is.
Yeah, and you could probably get your editor to pop one up here, right? But a RACI is RACI. It's a model, and essentially it's R, responsible, A, accountable, C, consulted, and I is informed. So anytime something's happening, you know who's got the R, who's got the A, so on and so forth. And it really helps people know who has to make the decision, who needs to get it done, who needs to be asked if there's a change or if something needs to happen, and then who just needs to be told. And in your case, right, you're informed in most of these. You're the one that's just being told.
Yeah.
Maybe other people on your team are consulted, but that person, I think you said Spencer, is usually responsible and accountable for it. And it's one of those same things there. You make people understand, like, you own this. This is up to you to get it done. If you need help, go to the consulted. And then when you win or lose, let me know. I'm here. Just inform me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, it's so funny because I used RACI. And if you're just listening to this, it's a 4 square box essentially. And it's, each box is like, here's the kind of the zigzag more or less that happens, the Z. But it basically like exactly what you're saying. And I just do the dumbed down version of that.
Absolutely.
On top of that,
It's much simpler, much easier. And people probably feel more accountability for it when they're like, I'm the CEO of this, right? They probably eat that up. Right? I like it. That's why I said I want to see it.
The other one that might help you in your kind of piece walking down. So is there like a role in your mind that you have, maybe like a person that you want already, or are you still in kind of mishmash land a little bit?
I'm still kind of in mishmash land. And one of the things that I'm trying to understand is, am I going to do a rotational staff for the Detail Solutions 2.0? Or am I going to send one person from here, two people from here to there, and then backfill both? I don't know yet. And it's one of those things. I'm a big, if you're into personality tests, we've done some Enneagrams lately, trying to see who might be a good fit for what. And, what changes does that also mean in here, right? So one of the more recent changes we had was we had a gentleman that's subcontracted us for a long time, closed his business and came here and is now my shop manager. He runs the back of house, and it's a learning opportunity for him because he was a one-man band for, I think, 20, 25 years. So we're working through that as well and punching holes and redesigning things. But yeah, I think I probably have one person in mind that I would like to shift over there. Maybe a second one for the a concierge-ish role, which will be unique because we're basically talking about two businesses up at, I'll call it my big building, right? One is the
Yeah.
car storage and restaurant side and club side, and then one is the detail solution side. But there
Yeah.
is some blurred lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Overlaps.
but yeah, to
Because
answer your question, I think I have somebody in mind for at least two positions coming up.
so just for perspective, do you, and you've heard me tell people this before, but do you typically, are most of your people flat salary across the board, or are some commission, or some a third option like performance bonus or anything of that nature, or is it kind of all three for
Yeah,
different
it's all
departments and
across the
people?
board. Like I said, I like to go based off of my individuals themselves, and we do a little bit of a feeling out process, and some of it might change. I'm actually looking at restructuring a lot of our pay structure internally.
Hmm.
I think a lot of my salespeople want the safety of a salary, but the ability for commission. So we kind of set a bar. When you're over that bar, you get your extra commissions. And I have somebody that's purely commissioned, and I'll be very transparent.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah. Yeah.
not a big fan of that for a handful of reasons.
Could feed the wrong customer, right?
Yeah, and truthfully, I think a healthy either hourly or salaried with an incentive or a commission bonus structure is ideal for most people. And as a business owner, I also have to look at it a little selfishly because we want to mitigate as much risk as possible, but also incentivize as much as possible.
Mm,
Because we want to get the most out of our people, but we need the most quality. And at the same point in time, we want safety and security for you as well as ourselves. So,
yeah. I mean, I think I'm a big fan exactly what you just said, that individualism kind
mhm.
of piece. And I think you've heard me say this one before too, is like, if you were gonna, I'll kind of give you a real world one. If you are considering doing the sales process one and changing that comp structure, and you wanted to focus on the bow tie
Mhm.
scenario, potentially, we built this structure out for a buddy. But basically, the long story short is I care more about each individual's core value as a human. I wish they would know our core value as a company, which most of them do. I'm just kind of teasing. But most individuals have like 5 things that make them, this is who I am as a human. I care about dollars, or I care about family, or I care about time, or all this stuff. And I learned this from a guy called Ray Sanders. If you look up Ray Sanders mentorship, he feeds you these 30 values. You give this to your employee of choice and you say, hey, I want you to pick 10 values in 3 minutes. They're going to flip out, by the way. You're going to give them this fucking laundry list and they're like, fucking hell. They're going to lose their mind. And then you say, give me 10, and then knock it down to 5 in less than 2 minutes. And they're going to still freak out. But now you have the 5 things that they care about most in the entire world.
We'll get rid of two more.
And then you can even condense it down to one. And, you know, it's kind of manipulative a little bit, but it's done in a genuine way. What I mean by this is, the long story short is all these values are basically validated or violated in your life at some point. A long story short, the example I had heard is like, basically someone had to put a gun in someone's mouth, their father, because their father kept beating their family over and over. It was getting to the point where someone was going to lose their life. So this person had to basically put a gun in their father's mouth and wait for the cops. So if you ask that person, you're good, don't worry about it. If you ask this person more than anything, what do they value more than anything in their life? Guarantee you they're going to say family, because they
Yeah.
didn't have one for a majority of their life. So if I had that person employed by me and I was trying to figure out a comp plan,
You know what to
and I
prioritize.
know, am I going to prioritize commission and sales that's going to lose time with their family? Or am I going to maybe build a comp plan based off of vacation, or pull pieces in? A perfect example is like, what if you paid for their family to come visit them, one weekend surprise? I guarantee you that employee will be with you for years.
Yep.
And I think structuring comp plans and benefits sometimes even is just obviously you can't individualize 401ks or anything of that nature, but individualizing an actual structure for an individual. So if you say, hey, the most thing that I care about in my sales guy is that he closes and he retains. Well, then if he's not organized and you say, hey, you keep your top 25 customers, if I see 10 out of 25 come back over the next 6 months, that'll hit maybe a commission percentage, or maybe there's a bump there. I really am a firm believer in incentivizing the people that you want. And if he says, hey, money doesn't motivate me, maybe that
Something
vacation
else
does,
does. Yeah.
or that
Yep.
time does. That core value always backs door to that.
Correct, and I'm completely with you, right? I mean, we incentivized a trip down to Florida, and I know you guys have done some similar things, and I think that's something that a lot of my staff, if not everyone on my staff, appreciates. The time away, time with significant others. Some people appreciate the time away from their kids, right? I mean, some people love time with their kids, but they also need that break.
Yeah.
And
They
then
also might not be able to afford it too, right? It's a
yeah,
real thing.
and on the flip side here, it was a great team building opportunity that everyone came back from. Like, man, you saw high fives and fist bumps and, inside jokes that weren't there. And I've got staff that have been around for 10 years. And, one of my guys that I've known, and he's worked alongside me before I even had a business. I'm talking 2006, 2007.
And for the audience, he took his staff to Orlando.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So we went down, and actually, I mean, it's no secret right now we're looking at what can our next incentive trip be. And a lot of people have different ideas, and we're going to find what works. And maybe it's going to be individualized, maybe it'll be team based. I haven't decided that yet, but we're going to do something because we know it meant a lot to people. It created an energy that was contagious, but got a lot more done and made everybody very, very happy across the board. And not everyone's in a position to do that. Not everyone's in a position to
Yeah.
do something crazy big like that. Little things matter too, and understand that. Maybe somebody's got a kid and they've got a ballet recital on a Thursday afternoon. Be intentional and block that Thursday afternoon. And hey Chris, here you go, man. I know you really wanted to make sure you were here. I cleared the day. Get your ass there. Be there. And for that person that values their child more than anything else, that's going to mean a lot. But yeah, again, one of my catchphrases and themes for Q4 2025 is intentionality. So you'll hear me saying it a lot today and for the next 3 months. Everything that we do right now is being very intentional, and it has a very specific reason. And I think acting that way and carrying that in 2026 will be crucial too. But you mentioned it, right? Understanding what these people want, what motivates them, and being intentional in how you compensate or just treat these people.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Incentivize the action you want, and just understanding what that incentivization truly should be. I mean, how many times did we all start businesses and we always thought it was going to be commissions and bonuses for everybody, right? And it just doesn't work for everybody, right? So, but yeah, that's kind of the MO on that. But yeah, I mean, any other things you're kind of kicking around in your head from an employee standpoint that you're thinking about?
I mean, one of my things is how to work more as a team. More to the point where I've always been. I want. Uh, I took this from my corporate career. I always wanted one throat to cut, and that was typically with vendors. If somebody screwed up, I went back and I said, Chris, my website went down for 5 days. You're done. In this case, we've always had that because now, from a quality perspective, I could say, okay, person A did this car from start to finish on this service. Person B did this part, and you could say it was you that messed up. You couldn't be like, oh, the Spider-Man meme of everyone pointing at each other. Like, well, I thought you did that. I thought you did that. We didn't have that, but now we're to the point where I think we can be more effective and efficient potentially in working as teams. And I'm looking at that, especially knowing how we do have some of these compensations laid out. How do we change it? How do we blend it? How do we work with it? I don't know. And then just leading, getting everyone on the same page is a unique thing in itself as we're going down, multiple businesses, multiple locations, and a whole slew of growth across everything. Our sales is changing, our services are changing, our locations are changing. How do we get everyone to buy in? How do we get everyone to stay bought in? and how do we make everyone happy? It's unique across the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah. I mean, our businesses are so similar too, right? Because we have like 5, 6 departments now, multi 7 figures. We're kind of creeping up on 8. I going back to your Orlando trip, I do feel like a unified cross department goal has worked really, really well for us, which is like everything happened, hey, we just for status quo, we're taking everybody and their spouses down to Mexico in January. I think this is the second time we've hit like this unified goal. Ironically, we would have went last year, but I made the goal too strong. So,
I'm
but I
dealing
think
with that
that
right now too.
yeah. I mean, I might have made it too strong, genuinely, but it's okay. We had a big growth year. We grew 100% in staff in the past 18 months. So, um, it's one of those things. Is like I don't think of that goal. It's almost like a back step, but when you cross department, just so everybody so I don't speak too large. Our goals were get this many reviews, get this many launched websites, retain this many clients. Um, Mine were not revenue based, ironically, at all. Mine were more conversion, retainment. Um, there was miniature department stuff like all SEO clients need to have X amount percentage growth increase on traffic. There was definitely some miniature stuff in there. Um, but when it all came together and then they all got on a meeting every single Monday and they showed that board every Monday without me, by the way. I didn't,
Yeah.
like, hey, here's our goals. And then they kind of split off into their own meetings, but they kind of kept everybody front and center. I feel like, and a lot of us are remote, some of us are not. I mean, there are 14 of us in Milwaukee, another batch in Colorado, another batch in North Carolina, got 3 more, a bunch in Canada. But that kind of all kept all departments together, unified, tied.
Yeah.
It seemed to work for us. I'm not saying that's the perfect answer. It doesn't always work like that either. Um,
And I think
but general goal helped.
what you said there is you didn't focus on revenue, but I promise you revenue was impacted positively by that too.
Yeah, it
That's
was our best year by
yeah,
far.
that's the thing is sometimes it's the less tangibles when it comes to dollars and cents that make all the improvements and will go a long way in your business.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we try and pay it back too. I mean, we brought healthcare and we brought the most aggressive 401k you've ever seen and the Mexico trip. So I backdoored it,
Are you
and
hiring?
so every day, every freaking
All right,
day,
I'll
it's
email
just
my cover letter later. Don't worry.
let's go. Let's do it. Let's go. Um, yeah, I mean, I love building teams, but at the end of the day, if you're trying to get those cross people, those to me, that's the hardest thing. Is this department talking to the ops? Is ops talking to sales? And where's that overlap? And not to have a meeting just to have a meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
um, there can be, but not everything's got to be next steps. But just like, hey, this is what's going on, and here's where we are with the goal that Chris and Melissa had set. And like we, just as a reminder, we all get a $5,000 vacation if we go. So that's really what it is.
I
So
think sometimes it's just making sure the communication that is happening is the right communication because I'm sure you've seen it when they're talking about the wrong stuff, it starts to go downhill. When they're talking about the right stuff,
oh
it goes
yeah,
uphill. And when you have enough people and hands in the pot, that can happen really quickly. And then we all know about the game of telephone where Tommy
yep,
tells Susie this, and then it goes on to the next person. It started out well with Tommy, but then by the time it got to Chris, he's like, "Wait, that is not what we discussed over there." And now you've got interdepartment
yeah,
issues. So keeping all that stuff in check is unique as you grow, as you already know.
yep, yep. And I tend to have always been faulted of I'm too to the point. I'm too next step. I will say if that meeting's always got to be next step, that's okay for it to be driven next step and not baseless. But if you want culture building pieces where Melissa here at work has always been fantastic is many parties for birthdays and stuff like that, or taking teams out. We actually intentionally tell the sales team that they are required to take out the support team each quarter. The dev team is required to take out the SEO team. SEO team is required to take out sales guy. Like that's kind of how we force a little intermingling. So it's not fully all the time work, but it's a good way to kill resentment. I've noticed. Not like they would be resentful people, but
people are very different outside of work. We go when we do Top Golf, at least once a year. We typically do at least one or two holiday dinner kind of things throughout. And we keep talking about doing more and more and more because you get these guys and look, I'm not going to sit here. I know I'm on a new health journey, right? Quite literally today started a new health journey. We can connect offline about that, but I think
hell yeah,
you don't have to take people out to drink. You don't have to take people out to eat. Just do something outside of work and invite spouses too, especially if it's something cool. I think that's really important. At least to me, it is. But people are totally different, and you'll connect. And like you just said, that grudge that somebody might have at work with somebody, it's gone. It's gone after that. I'm not going to say in 3 weeks they might not get mad at each other for something else, but it's gone in the immediate after that, almost 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. If you ever do that Ray Sanders core values thing, you'll understand a lot of times why people go through certain scenarios in their life that brought them to those decisions. And
so
you might second guess how you talk to them on the next round.
I'm actually going to flip that. Are you familiar with an Enneagram test, the personality test?
I don't think so. No, I'm not.
Baby. So
what's it called? Enneagram?
It
sounds like something I'm scheduled.
Yeah.
Sounds like something I'm scheduled at 45 for.
Right? No. So it's ENNEAGRAM, right? And it's the Enneagram Institute. There's all sorts of stuff out there. But so I brought a consultant in about a year ago, actually, almost to the day. And one of the things that we did probably in month 1, month 2 was I took an Enneagram test. I had my leaders take an Enneagram test, and then we trickled it down to everybody. Now, when you're onboarded, it's part of your onboarding. And you will really learn, how somebody operates, how they are at their best, how they are at their worst, how they are in the middle. And you'll start to understand this person strives to communicate like this, but, they might have some self-esteem issues or this and that, and they're here. They appreciate being really direct, but they don't want to have direct communication back. So it'll give you, and again, the workplace is really unique because you mentioned this word earlier, but manipulative. If you're an asshole, it's manipulative. If you're a good boss, you're using this to understand your people and how to give them what they want and desire, but also get what you need out of them. And you just understand, I give it to my wife, runs my sales and customer service department. I gave her all of her employees and I said, hey, look at this. When you go talk to Nick, when you go talk to Mark, this is what they strive and thrive on. When they communicate with people, this is how they do it. And you'll understand, you'll see it. You will immediately be like, oh my God, that's why this guy stops by my office every day. And it's like, hey, you want to come check my work? And it's just because it's them. It's them in a nutshell. And when you see this, you're going to be like, holy crap, it's no different than the Ray Sanders values. You will pull so much out of your employees just understanding what's between these things, right?
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
And is that something you found just like a local kind of purveyor of that who can help you participate in that for your staff?
It's just online. It's like $12 or something like that per person per test.
Hell yeah. That's going to cost me like $400 at this stage, but I'm in.
It sends you a synopsis and it's awesome. And it's so funny because let's be real. In our industry, guys see this and they're like, I got a personality test. What the?
He slaps tint on the window. Fuck him.
Meanwhile, after we took it, we're like, dude, did you get your results? You get your results. We're all in the break room. We're like, holy shit, this is me. Like, I'm grumpy when this happens. And it's, we're making fun of each other.
Dad hit me. This is why I eat candy.
Yeah, exactly. Bingo. And it was it was fun. We all have to learn a lot about each other. And then you go back and you're like, oh man, now I see why Chris responded that way when I said that to him. Now I see why, he likes to work early mornings or late nights, whatever it might be. You just see so much about that other individual, and it's powerful for the workforce if they're able to think back to it and use it as a tool.
And even wrapping back, coming around, some guys are going to listen to this and be like, psh, and I would just tell you, when you get some of this data and you look at this, you can actually understand why there's faults maybe in the current business, which who doesn't want to get better and better and better, right? That's like always a big thing. But it actually might help you from making a hiring mistake too, because
Absolutely.
you'll see some of the stuff like, dang it, they're like patterns are real things. And you might see a pattern pop up even in pre-interview style.
Absolutely. So it's funny. I actually ChatGPT, baby. When you know how to use it, it's powerful. I tossed
Mhm.
everybody's Enneagram in there, right? Their main one and what's called their wing, and it came back and it dissected everything and it pulled a lot out. Talked to me about, oh, you have a thing for peacemakers, the number two, and you know, it really unique because you see how the ebb and flow is. The peacemaker needs the strong, direct, blunt individual, but not too much. And I have
Mm.
to identify that and be like, "Oh, crap, sometimes I'm being a little too direct with these people." But then they have their strong points, and it's no surprise. It's not happenstance. It's because I understand these people in advance, but, I have those people that crush it from the customer service side in the customer service roles. And then I have the more artist folks in, the PPF and the tint roles where they have to be really meticulous. So you'll either confirm your choices or be like, "Holy crap, wrong person, wrong seat," real quick with a lot of it.
Mhm.
And to the other point you mentioned is you also might understand why things have gone awry because people are
Yeah.
miscommunicating, or, this person has it in their head like, "Oh, you said this to them," and, now they're in their feels and they just can't perform and you got to break them out of it. All of this stuff
Do
is
you
a
use
powerful
any of
tool.
those in the pre-interview process at all? Or no, not really? I know
So
there's like some legality to of it too. Like
yeah,
technically, could you say, you didn't hire this person because they're not meticulous, right?
yeah, no. So I stick to my core values, and I'm not a big interviewer. I am a conversationalist, if you will. I like to
Okay.
sit down with
Yeah.
people, and I in advance, if somebody looks like a good fit from our pre-screenings, I say, "Hey, here's our business's core values. Rate yourself on these, and then tell me
Mm,
why you rated yourself on those." I can look and say, "Is this person fluffing me? They're giving me the interview answer, or they actually thought about this," and I can go, I mean, they're a good fit. Um, Once we get from there, it is more in the onboarding phase that we say, "Hey, take this Enneagram test." They've been hired, they've
yeah.
started, and we set them up at a computer and they go take it on their, on day one, day two, day three, whatever.
We're
Um,
so similar. It's
but
ridiculous. Yeah.
yeah,
We do the exact same thing on our pre-interview stuff. We actually, when they apply, we tell them to go to our website and pick out which core value and why. It actually helps to understand if they actually read it.
it,
If they
you
don't
all
read it, they don't respond. I'm like, fucking, you made my life easy. Thank you.
you also get to see if people can actually follow instruction, because the number of
Yep.
times that I'm like, I give just one little piece in there. I'm like, "Oh, you didn't read it. You didn't do it. You're not going to be thorough enough to do what we need, or you're just not going to be a good fit across the board." But I think a lot of people, and I mentioned this earlier in the first part of this discussion, is I hire green and I train them on detailing, and then I bring them
Mm,
into PPF or tint, and then they have their career path from there. We hire on core values. We don't hire on skill. If you're not a good
mm,
fit, you're not a good fit. It is what it is. I joke, my guys laugh. I'm like, I can train a monkey to detail a car. I can train a monkey to put a
yeah.
ceramic coating on a car. But if you're not a good fit for my culture and how we operate in our core values, you're never going to work. I don't care if you're the world's best paint correction specialist, the world's best PPF installer. I don't want you on my team because you're only going to cause a
Yeah.
problem somewhere.
Can't train character. That's for sure. Awesome. Well, this was a great discussion. Thank you so much. Learned so much. Awesome. Where can we learn more about you if people wanted to follow along, if they were interested in talking to you, even potentially? I don't even know if it's even open to you.
Yeah, I'm always open to that. I mentioned earlier, I do a lot of mentoring for guys in the industry. I don't know if I'm gonna be at SEMA this year. I'm always at Mobile Tech. I'm gonna try and make it to a few other events, but my Facebook, my LinkedIn, they're always open. Or just come on our website, baltimoredetail.com, fill out a form. You just have to get through my security, which is my sales staff, before it comes to me. But I'm here. I like to talk to people in the industry and anything I can do to help, whether it's business or, from an operations perspective. I'm here.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being on.
Thank you, Chris.